Welcome to the SJ Child Show, where a little bit of knowledge can turn fear into understanding. Enjoy the show. Hi, and welcome to the SJ Child Show. Today, I have a really great guest I'm excited to introduce. I'm excited for you to go and support all that he's doing. And I would love to introduce you to Louis. Is it Marinucci? Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yes, you did. It is Marinucci.
Wonderful. It's so nice to meet you, Louis.
You too, Sarah. It is.
Thanks. Tell me where you're at in the world. You just told me you're in Philadelphia. Tell everybody else where you're at.
I am in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and as you all know, if you've been watching the news, we are under a air quality code red alert because of the smoke coming from Ottawa, the province in Canada, because of all the wildfires. But I can assure you, I'm safe. I'm inside, and
Good.
the smoke will eventually. The air quality will get better, and the smoke will go away.
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, and it'll be great to talk to you today because what you do, you don't have to use the air from outside anyways. So that'll be good to get into that. Tell us a little bit about yourself and then we'll kind of go into what you're doing today.
Well, I am a autistic YouTuber. I'm also a Twitch streamer. I'm a scuba diver. I'm working on becoming an open water free diver. And I'm also going to be a professional merman.
Oh, that's exciting. I'm looking forward to hearing more about that. So, have you always liked water? And is there something about being under the water that makes you feel specifically, safe or comforted?
Yes, and I kind of, let me tell you this. I am a water bug. I'm a March baby. I was born on March 19th, 1984. I'm a Pisces.
Yeah. So you're already set up to be from the cosmos. You were a water sign to begin with.
Exactly.
Oh, that's fantastic. Did your family spend I haven't spent much time in Pennsylvania. I'm not aware of like what kind of bodies of water are around you and things like that. Where did you spend most of your time?
If you mean swimming?
Yeah.
Mostly in pools, but there were times I went to the beach. But let me tell you about, I'm going to tell you about how I got into diving.
Please.
Happened when I was 2 years old. I seen scuba diving on TV, and when I was 2 years old, then fast forward 20 years later in 2006, I ended up getting certified to scuba dive, but it wasn't easy though.
I bet. Lots of swim
And,
lessons, I hope.
well, not that. I excelled at the water skills. It was mainly the academics. I failed 2 times under NAUI and failed once under PADI. For those who don't know what NAUI and PADI are, they are two of many agencies that certify people in scuba diving, free diving, mermaiding.
Yeah.
NAUI is short for National Underwater, National Association of Underwater Instructors, while PADI is short for Professional Association of Dive Instructors.
Wow. Okay.
Well, I was able to pass on my fourth try.
Oh.
Then I went to this local quarry, which was previously called Dutch Springs, but now Lake Allure, which, of course, as of this interview, it's not open because of the fact the original owners sold it because part of the land is being redeveloped for warehouses while the quarry itself was bought by someone who decided to keep it open for diving.
Hmm.
But during my third dive, I accidentally went down to 60 feet because I was having issues with my buoyancy and my weight belt. And there was one moment I did struggle when water got into my mask, but I still did pass.
Mhm.
Not to mention, even though my air consumption sucked, that would be the first time I would get a taste of diving in open water. But I would have a hiatus take me years, like 9 years after that, to return to diving because of my former job at the Y. Yes,
Yeah.
and I also was a lifeguard too, which was how I was able to pay for my scuba certification.
That's
Yeah, and
amazing.
it took me 4 times because it's been 19 years since I began my journey. I had trouble with the water skills, academics, stamina, but I got better with that
Yeah.
each attempt. But back to the diving though, I would return to diving in 2015, which of course was the same year I started my YouTube channel, Lewis's Adventures, which I'll talk more about that later. I got to go to Epcot,
Mm.
'cause they do allow you to dive there. It's my fifth dive. Then a year later, I would go to Cozumel with DiveHeart, which I will also talk about later
Wow.
on. And of course, ever since the 2016 trip, I've gotten better with my diving, and I'm also an aquarium dive volunteer for the Adventure
Hmm.
Aquarium, which I'll also talk about very shortly.
That's fantastic.
And if you're wondering what it's like to be a diver, it's magic,
Mhm. I love the water too. I'm a Cancer, if that makes any difference.
really.
Yeah.
Now, as for being underwater while scuba diving, makes me feel like I'm a merman, which
Yeah.
I'll also talk about me actually being a merman later on.
It's fantastic. Well, you kind of lead the way. I'll let you kind of tell your story as as it flows.
Yes. So after my second trip to Cozumel with DiveHeart, I joined the Adventure Aquarium 5 years ago, and I became a dive volunteer.
Mhm.
And I had ranked up a lot of dives, but then COVID-19, the pandemic comes along, and then I couldn't dive from March 2020 until December 2021 at the aquarium,
Mhm.
and then I wouldn't dive again until May 2022, and then it took me months because the dive safety officer had a diving accident.
Mm.
Yeah, diving accidents do happen,
Yeah.
but his health and safety and recovery was more important. Then
Mm.
I was able to eventually return, get some diving in before I went to Cozumel for my recent trip with DiveHeart.
Tell us about DiveHeart. What is
They are
that?
DiveHeart. They are a nonprofit organization based out of the Chicago suburb of Downers Grove. This is one of their shirts.
Okay, that's cute. Oh, nice. Diveheart.org.
And it's ran by a man named Jim Elliott, who founded the organization in 2001. The concept was born out of the fact that he got his blind daughter into skiing,
Mm.
adaptive skiing. He thought,
Wow.
if this could work with skiing, why not scuba diving? And DiveHeart was born. Let
Yeah.
me tell you a little bit about Jim Elliott. He gave up a career at WGN. He used to work for WGN in Chicago. Now, how did I get involved with DiveHeart? I found it in a Google search. Excuse me for a
Wow.
little bit of stuttering, but Google search, and And when I read a story about a man with autism learning how to dive through them, a man named Nick Johnson, who of course I would later meet on handful of my trips to Cozumel, featured him and his father, Glenn, as they were interviewed for WGN. My scuba mentor and friend, Wendy Crown, who I met on Facebook, convinced me to go to Cozumel and had to get my passport and everything else.
Thank you, Wendy.
Yep. My mother went with me.
Oh.
And, well, when I went to Cozumel, I was trained by the training coordinator, a woman named Rachel Crane. She also trained other people as well, not just adaptive divers, but adaptive buddies, advanced adaptive buddies, adaptive scuba instructors through DiveHeart.
Awesome.
Now, DiveHeart doesn't just work with people with autism; they also work with people who are confined to wheelchairs, which of course we call them wheelchair users,
That's amazing.
and they also work with veterans and other people who've lost limbs or
Hmm.
were born without them, and they also help people with PTSD. Now, when we go to Cozumel, when loading the dive boats, it's usually the people in the wheelchairs that go on first, and they get off last. DiveHeart was also the focus of a documentary shot by a filmmaker who became good friends with me, who I also interviewed for my YouTube channel. He's a man named David Marsh. Both him and his brother Scott, they came in 2021 to film Adapting a Dive, which of course, around that time, if you watch it, it's a very good documentary.
That's
Around
fantastic.
around that time, David also had struggles of his own to contend with while he was dealing while filming this documentary.
Hmm.
I'm not going to spoil it for you, but it's best that you watch it for yourself. You can watch it on Amazon Prime, or you can watch it on Roku channel and or Tubi for free. But when you watch it
Wonderful.
on Tubi or Roku channel, you get advertisements.
Hmm.
A lot of people who I met during my previous trips actually appear in this documentary,
That's neat.
and they include this nurse who I met during my second trip. She's a woman named Valerie, who when I met during my trip, she was actually getting certified to scuba dive, but during the documentary, she was actually learning how to become an adaptive buddy.
Hmm.
Now, and then there's these other two people I met, Danny and Lauren, who I'm very close with, and they are also very close to my mother, Yolanda. They're featured in there. And then I got to meet some people who were featured in the documentary for the first time. I met them on social media prior, but others I got to meet in person during my trip.
Hmm. Wow.
Yeah, I highly, because if you ever want to if you ever want to try scuba diving, Sarah, I highly recommend you go with DiveHeart.
Thank you.
And that is also why I highly recommend you have Jim Elliott and of course Tina Marie Hernandez, the executive director, here on this very podcast one day.
I would love to do that. I'll definitely. Please, if I don't make the connection, I'll reach out to you to make it.
For sure. I did tell Jim about you.
That's right. I remember that's kind of how our conversation began, isn't it?
I'm also involved with other things like Stream to Sea, which they make environmentally friendly sunscreens,
Mm,
shampoos, body washes,
wonderful.
especially the sunscreens to, protect coral reefs, be reef safe. They're
Yeah.
based out of Florida. The company is ran by a woman named Autumn Blum, who I met on Facebook, and numerous times at Beneath the Sea, which is a scuba diving convention at the Meadowlands in the city of Secaucus in New Jersey. And DiveHeart also goes there too.
Mm.
And now the next thing I'm going to talk about, if you do the honors.
Well, I think I'd like to hear a little bit more about this merman experience.
Being a merman, yes. Um, okay, excuse me if there's a little bit of a glitch because of.
There we go. Wow.
Well, I always wanted to be a merman because I've seen things like The Little Mermaid, the original one, as a kid because there were mermen in there. And fun fact, I got to see the new one on Monday with my sister.
Good.
Not to mention, I was also influenced by someone who, sadly, we don't talk no more. And I'm not going to get into details about it, though, but we had a falling out back in March. But
Mhm.
her and I used to be close friends. And she became a mermaid herself in 2019, and it motivated me to want to get into being a merman. But it wasn't just this former friend of mine. There was another factor. She also got me interested in the Australian mermaid show H2O, Just Add Water. You ever heard of that?
Yeah.
And I discovered its Netflix exclusive sequel, Mako Mermaids, which had mermen in it, which, of course, the merman, Zach, also convinced me that I should become a merman.
I love that. And I love that your mom supports you and helps you achieve these, dreams that you have.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, tell us more about the experiences.
Well, in 2020, I got that tail that you just seen for my birthday, which is called the Mer Taylor Caribbean Dream Guppy. It's one of the many patterns sold by the Mer Taylor, which is a company based out of Florida. And he's also featured in the documentary Mer People, which came out the same week as the Little Mermaid movie.
Oh, interesting.
His name is Eric. He is one of many Mers and other influences in the mermaid community I've met on social media. And I'm also part of his group on Facebook. And I told him I enjoyed the documentary, and he replied to me and said thank you. And of course, that same week, I got to audition for my friend Tasha Heights Mermaid Company. And of course, in the mermaid community, she's a professional mermaid and she calls herself Mermaid Tasha. You should definitely have Tasha on your podcast as well.
Fantastic.
I'll tell her about this.
I love good guests.
Yeah, that. Not to mention, I met Tasha through my friend Grace Ann, who, of course, is also known as the Barnacle Bay Mermaid or Mermaid Brizzo 3 years ago. And she has a cameo in episode 1 of Mer People. So does my friend Yami, who also has a cameo in episode 1 of Mer People, because both of them were auditioning for the Circus Siren Pod, which is ran by a woman named Morgana Alba, who also runs one of the most popular mermaid conventions here in the country called Mermagicon, which is also
Ooh.
featured in there. As for Mer People, it's 4 episodes long and it's on Netflix.
I love that you found this community that you love and that you have a special interest in. And I mean, it's just amazing, really.
Thank you. Now, as for mermaiding, in general, it's a lot of fun, but there will be toxic people at the same time, though.
Yeah, can't miss that in the world, can you?
No, I can't.
Dang, I wish we could. I wish we could just bypass all of those.
Yeah, but
But
I'm not gonna let my falling out with my former friend stop me, and I had been.
yeah, good.
He ended
Tell
up becoming toxic, and
Oh, that's hard for
yeah,
friendships.
yeah.
Now, at the beginning, you said that you were there wasn't an alliance or something you had mentioned about um uh yeah, well, I'll have to let you tell about it.
Oh, you
That
mean
you're
you mean
a
the
part of.
diversity initiative?
Yes, yes, tell us about that.
Well, the diversity initiative, their their campaign is to get people underwater by 2030. It does deal with people who are neurodivergent
Hmm.
as well as people in the LGBTQ community.
Okay.
I myself happen to be an asexual or ace. It's also, yeah, because it was founded by my friend who also is helping me become an open water free diver. I
Wow.
passed the NAUI free confined water free diving certification with her last summer, but couldn't finish the open water because of equalizing issues. Because free diving is different from scuba diving. Because unlike scuba diving, which has you have a tank on your back and you're breathing through it, free diving is where you go down on one breath and then you have to come back up and do
Yeah.
recovery breathing. It also plays a
Wow.
role in mermaiding. As for Nicole, it was founded by her and this other woman named Galit Tazdek.
Hmm.
And of course, earlier in the day, we had a meeting here on Zoom, and, I'm part of the committee. My role has to do with live streaming and other stuff.
That's great. Let's talk a little bit more about that. Tell us about your YouTube and your Twitch live streams.
Oh, me being a YouTuber, it's called Lewis's Adventures. I make videos not just about me scuba diving. I also go on other adventures outside of scuba diving,
Cool.
which includes playing and making videos about the mobile game Pokemon Go.
Okay.
I've also interviewed other people, but it's similar to a podcast, but it's not more of it. It's not meant to be a podcast. It's just video only.
Well, YouTube's letting you do whatever you want with that now, right?
Yes, I also have
Hmm.
done vlogs, short vlogs. I've also done reviews on stuff I use for my videos and in my daily life. I've also have made 4 videos about my journey as a merman. If you're wondering what my merman name is, it's Merman Adventure Philly.
Oh, I like that.
Which, of course, before we go back on subject about me being a YouTuber and a Twitch streamer, Sarah, it's or my merman's fictional counterpart. He lives off the coast of Wildwood, New Jersey. He swims. He swims through up from the Atlantic Ocean to the Delaware Bay, up to the Delaware River, to Philadelphia to go attend sporting events down at the sports complex in South Philadelphia and watches games from the Philadelphia sports teams such as the Philadelphia Eagles, the Philadelphia Flyers, the Philadelphia 76ers, and of course part of the name for my merman name comes from Major League Baseball's own Philadelphia Phillies.
Nice. I like that. Very cool.
Yeah, so in other words, this merman is also a Philadelphia sports fan in addition to being a merman.
Sounds like it. I like that you can combine that, you know?
And not to mention, part of that persona was also influenced by third baseman man and current DH Bryce Harper
Hmm. Okay.
when he introduced fan, the fanatic headband. I thought that would look good in my persona, and I've featured that
I
and
love
used it.
that. Good for you. Good for you.
Now back to the subject of my YouTube videos.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
I also do Pokemon Go news where I talk about what's going on in Pokemon Go. I also talk about what it's like to be autistic.
Hmm.
And let me tell you this, one of my serious autism talk videos happened to be about where I talked about the times I got beaten up and bullied
Yeah.
because at the time I was making that video, I was fresh off of being beaten up on the bus here in Philadelphia.
Oh no.
Yeah, and then last month I got beaten up once again. I was attacked by this middle school girl and her guy friends who attend school here in the neighborhood and
Hmm.
live in the neighborhood. They
I'm
had been harassing
sorry.
me for months
Hmm.
to make things short while trying to defend myself and throwing things at them. She ended up tackling me and punching me. It wasn't until a teacher grabbed got her off me and the school police officer came and then police. I
Hmm.
did call the police to report the
Yeah.
incident. I was shaken up. I was crying because I
Hmm.
don't like fighting kids at all.
Well, of course not. And you shouldn't have to. That's silly. And just that's unfortunate, very unfortunate.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. That's I was just using that as one of the examples of what I talked about autism talk, which
Yeah,
is
that's great.
maybe I'll talk about you and Sam in a future episode,
There you go.
and
Absolutely.
maybe I can interview you for my channel.
I would love that. I only received my diagnosis last year, and
I
then my husband and my daughter and my son. So we have an all autistic family.
really
Yeah.
now I was I never got to tell you this earlier, but I got on I was I was diagnosed at the age of 12.
Okay. How were your communication skills up until then?
Well, during that, to make it short, during that time, there were times my parents knew that there was something wrong with me, and they discovered Asperger's syndrome by complete accident.
Hmm.
I was diagnosed with ADHD when I was 6 years old,
Okay. It usually is the pattern that follows, isn't it?
which is why I'm a
Yes.
neurodivergent.
And that is so interesting too, because in our case, it was for our son, autism, well, PDD NOS when he was 16 months old,
Really.
and then ADHD. So it kind of went in a different way that way. It manifested itself differently.
Now, as for me being a Twitch streamer, I'll get back to
Yeah.
that. I do play different games on there, but I haven't streamed in quite a while, mainly because of my mental health and medication issues and me being busy with life.
Yeah, you can take care of you.
Now, as for what I have played on there, I play classic games. I've also played games like Cobra Kai.
Hmm.
Although my streams are not family friendly because I do swear on there because it's like
You're an
18 plus.
adult. You're fine.
But I'm not gonna swear on here on this street here on this
It's a
podcast though.
family show. Thank you.
But I do swear though on my Twitch channel, but I don't swear in my videos either.
Yeah, that's good.
Now, as for the video, as for the videos, they also include DiveHeart, which I talked about earlier.
Okay.
And as for how did I get into being a Twitch streamer, it was the same person who influenced me to be a merman, the one I had the
Okay.
falling out with. When
Well,
her and I used to be good friends, I used to watch her stream and come support her.
yeah. And I was telling my daughter about this yesterday. There's like this, I learned this from another podcast I did that oftentimes in relationships, it's like a pyramid and it's split into like three categories. You have your close family and friends, then you have friends, then you have acquaintances. And oftentimes people can be in either category and it can change and you can lose friends. They can become better friends, they can become acquaintances. And you just really have to be flexible when those things happen because relationships change very frequently sometimes.
Yeah, it's just this person on the other hand. I'm not going to get into details because I don't want to talk bad about them. Let's just say we grew apart, and
Yeah.
since they moved away from here,
That's hard.
yeah,
Definitely.
and they changed.
Yeah. Sometimes environments can do that to a person, change them. And yeah, definitely.
And I've made mistakes, and we've
Mm.
upset each other, and then
Yeah.
got to the
Oh,
point where it just became too much, and then that's
yeah.
just pretty much how the falling out happened,
And then you go through kind of a grieving period and have to recover from that.
which
So
I'm
it's
still
not
am.
true. Yeah, I can tell, and that's okay. Well, thanks for being so honest and vulnerable about it too. That's just very authentic of you.
While at the same time, I don't want to talk bad about them
Yeah, I don't think you are. I think you're doing a really great job of being super respectful. So, well,
as much. Yeah,
tell us what you have planned in the upcoming future.
I plan to work for my friend Mermaid Tasha. Still, still paperwork pending, and gotta get my new tail and get the performers insurance, and I still gotta get back up on my feet in the wake of the pandemic
Yeah.
and get back to get back to working in the wake of losing my job because of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, tell us where we can go and support you and learn more about you. Tell us your channels and do you have a website?
Well, I don't use it anymore, but it's been abandoned.
Okay.
But I will give you my YouTube, the link to
Yeah.
my YouTube. I'll give you the link to my. I'll,
Perfect.
yeah, I'll give you the. I'll give you the links to my YouTube, my Twitch, my Instagrams for my. I also am on Twitter, but I don't use it anymore. I don't want to get into the reason why because I abandoned it because of the toxic environment that
Mm,
inhabits Twitter
yeah.
right now. I'm in the.
Perfect. Well, I'll make sure I have all of these links in the show notes so that we can
I also have
support you.
Facebook fan page for my YouTube
Oh yeah.
channel and my Mersona. I'm typing them down as we speak.
You're great. Perfect. Well, it's been so nice to get to know you, and I'm so grateful to Sam, always so willing to share his amazing friends that he gets to meet and, help promote everybody so that we can all have a wonderful place to share our stories and just help one another to lift one another up in the community. I'm really glad we got to have you on the show today, Louis. Thank you so, so much.
Th- Thank you, Sarah, and you're welcome.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure to talk to you. And I'm going to be following you on all these pages so I can keep in touch.
For sure.
Okay. Well, I'm so grateful that we got to do this today. So when you guys listen to this, make sure you go and follow and like. And, if you have any questions about scuba diving or mermaiding or anything else, you can give him a shout out and ask any questions and send them to me if you'd like me to pass them along. So thank you so much for being a guest today. And we'll definitely be in touch.
You're welcome, Sarah, and you too.
Okay. Bye now.